You're listening to the Snob OS Podcast, the podcast for Apple snobs. Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
And this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
And welcome back to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. We want to welcome you back to another episode. This is episode 373 of our show. And coming up on this week's show, we're going to talk about Apple's private relay. Ain't as private as they told you. Apple's cheapest laptop gets even cheaper if you don't mind refurbished. AI broke Apple's own bug bounty program. Meta finally pulls up to the AI coding fight. Black creators catch heat over OpenAI retreat, and we turn any app icon into a widget. So that's what we're talking about on this show. As per usual, we want to thank all those who have been listening this far. If you want to become a Patreon supporter, slide us a little change, and to say thank you, we will give you the show early. We'll give you a live show where you can listen to it as we record it, and you get access to exclusive content you will not find on this week's show. Speaking of this week's show, we always start with the lowdown, and the first story I have in here is Apple's private relay can leak your real IP address. So we talked about hide my email maybe a couple weeks ago. It wasn't doing what it's supposed to do. Now we got the private relay not doing what it's supposed to do. A new report from security researchers Talal Haj Bakri and Tommy Misk found that Apple's private relay, the iCloud Plus feature that we pay for, that's supposed to hide your IP address while browsing in Safari, can be circumvented and expose your real IP address anyway. Flaws trace back to three features baked into WebKit: the browser engine every iOS browser is required to use, which is also why this isn't fixable by just switching browsers on the phone. Private relay only works within Safari and isn't a full VPN. It doesn't protect the system. It doesn't protect at the system level. Jeez Louise. The researchers built a site. TechCrunch confirmed it works. Notably, the researchers chose not to report this to Apple first, saying past experience taught them that route means month of delays, inconsistent communication, and in some cases denying the issue's impact entirely. We can confirm this because that was the complaint with the hide my email. The dude sent it to Apple. They said, we working on it. He sends it to him again and say, hey, don't worry, we're working about it. I think he said it to him 3 times.
And they said it was fixed. They said it was fixed, right?
The last time they said it was fixed, and then he went back and, spot checked, their answer. Still wasn't fixed. Finally went to the news. The tech blogs ate it up. So now fast forward to the private relay. The researchers like, you know what you're not going to do is catch us slipping and have us back and forth for a year and y'all not doing something. So they put it out in the wild, and now the tech blogs have gotten a hold of it and they're running wild with it. So what do you think is going on? Are the researchers getting smarter? Is Apple getting more lax? What's going on with these features that are supposed to be private, that are supposed to protect our data, that are having these obvious lax in security issues that random people are, not random, but people outside of Apple are finding them before Apple can get to them?
So this is really strange. First, what are we really paying for in iCloud Plus? Because it sounds like we're spending money monthly on this subscription service that was touted as, this is the best platform. You pay this one fee and it does all this stuff. It doesn't look like we're getting what we're paying for. And the other thing is, these are obvious flaws. These issues with hide my email and now with the private relay, the primary functionality of these two features aren't being met. So my question is, iCloud Plus has been out for a minute. Has it always been an issue? Or is it a recent issue?
Right,
and a lot of times with, releasing new software, whenever you do an update or a patch or anything like that, you have a suite of regression tests that basically test what was already working, what was already in place, and you run those regression tests just as a sanity check to make sure that you didn't break anything when you were adding the new things. So I don't know if these were one things that were not issues before, and in the update change in upgrades or updates this became an issue and they just weren't doing the regression testing, which is a flaw in their testing plan. Or two, were these issues already there and nobody really dug into it,
Right.
because Apple is the data privacy, we protect your data people.
So you
So
assume.
you assume that people kind of just trust it, but then at the same time people love to find fault with Apple. So it leads me to believe that these are recent issues with both hide my email and private relay that Apple somehow missed in their testing when they released whichever update. I'd be interested to see if they can trace back to when the fundamental function of hide my email and now private relay aren't working. I mean, the basic function of what this is supposed to do isn't working. I could see if it was like a side feature or something kind of tangential to the actual function, but these are the core functions of these two features that aren't working. So I'd be interested to see. I know Apple probably will never tell us, but the trace back to see when this issue was actually broken, because I believe it worked initially. Because if it hadn't, these people would have found it earlier, and now they're just now finding it.
Right. It's worth noting that the researchers who found this bug and decided, oh, we're going to release it to the public now, as opposed to waiting and contacting Apple and going through the normal process, right? It's worth noting that these researchers also make a competitive or a competing private browser
Oh.
they say already patches this fix that they've exposed Apple for. You know, for what it's worth, you know, we got to make sure we let people know out there that the people who are complaining that Apple is not patching their security issues and lacks on their data protection features
Our
are put
competitors.
are competing, and they have their alternative browser that
Hmm.
patches this bug that they work so hard to find. So just keep that in mind.
And I will say that caveat is, has any other researcher found this to be an issue? I would hate to put this on these guys because I don't know, but is this really an actual issue?
Right,
Or
right.
is
Look,
this just a way to say, hey, you can
right.
use our thing? And it actually does do what their thing is saying they're supposed to do. And again, not saying that they did do that, but it's interesting if anybody else finds
Right.
this issue as
Right.
well.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, just to make that note, you take that information with what you will, but
And
the
do with
fact
it,
that
please.
right, because if they were really, really, for the community, maybe they wouldn't went through Apple and say, "Hey, man, y'all got a time clock. If we don't hear back from you within 3 months, we going public." Right? They
Mhm.
went straight public. Look, I ain't gonna look too deep into it, but let's just say, I don't think they was in a hurry, or I don't think they had the time to wait for Apple because they had their own
They have a little
product.
motive.
Yeah, had a little motive to get it out to the public sooner than later, right?
Yep.
Speaking of bounties, speaking of data breaches, speaking of researchers doing some digging to report issues with Apple, Apple limits the bug bounty submissions after a barrage of AI entries. So, as more and more people are using AI to do things,
Mhm.
these bug bounty folks who have been, trying to make Apple's products better by finding some of these bugs, and in exchange, they get a little kickback, a little reward for finding something that is actually in the public and actually an issue that Apple acknowledges. They are using AI to ramp up, or you could say being more efficient, but also to flood Apple with issues using AI. So I'll just read the little summary. Apple's security bounty program pays out up to $5 million for serious vulnerability reports, and until recently, there was no cap on how many submissions one researcher could send in.
Mm.
That has changed because Apple quietly capped the number of open reports a single researcher can have at once with a 30-day cool off period after getting flooded with AI assisted submissions. Apple told the Financial Times the move responds to the quote, growing volume of AI generated security submissions across the country, and researchers can still request a higher quota if they need to flag something urgent. The report also points to an Italian researcher group that used ChatGPT to help find 50 bugs in macOS 27, including one that let hackers take full control of a Mac.
Yikes.
Now, the thing I wanted to point out is, I thought this was interesting. The group that found the 50 bugs that are seem important. Apple is actually using AI to help them sort through
Filter through
some of these low effort spam submissions. So it's like this is the same thing I have with schools, right?
Mm-hmm.
The kids go to school and they tell them, do not use AI to help you with your homework. Don't use AI to help you with your papers.
Mm-hmm.
Don't use AI because you'll get caught. And if you get caught, penalties. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, the school and the teachers are using AI to grade the kids' papers, to grade the kids' reports, to
come
help
up with
them
the topics for this.
come up with the topics, come up with the syllabus. It's like, come on, man. So same thing with that. There was another example that I wanted to use too. I can't remember what it was, but it's
I can think of one.
Finding the jobs.
Oh, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah, the don't use AI. If you use AI to submit a resume, the company's gonna flag it, and you're not gonna get through because it ain't authentic. And they got all these tools to help these companies, these recruiters, sniff out all these AI things. Meanwhile, the companies are using AI to filter through your jobs and to automatically categorize you and automatically exclude you from job applications using AI. It's like, come on, man. If you're going to use it on the back or the top, you got to let the people use it at the bottom. So it's like Apple, to relate this back to the story, Apple is limiting the amount of submissions that people can submit in general because too many people are using AI. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, they are using AI to help them filter through some of these submissions. And it's just like, come on, man, we're either using it or we ain't.
Yeah.
Pick one.
and that's the interesting thing about the whole AI conversation, that I think is not really being had, because I think it benefits one group of people and it doesn't the other. So say, for instance, you mentioned jobs. So especially in the tech industry, if you're going for a software engineering position, you're going for an architect position, all these things, you have all these rounds of interviews where they're giving you these scenarios where you have to code this or design that. And I'm like, sure, you should know how to do these things. But at the same time, when you hire this person to actually do it, they're going to be using AI to do it. So to me, the better, I guess, compromise in this is allowing people to use it. And that shows you how their mind thinks, because everybody's using AI tools in their work, whether you're in the healthcare, whether you're in finance, customer service, whatever it is, AI is baked in. So the issue isn't, to me, is to fight against the AI, but is when you're trying to hire people, when you're interviewing people, allow them to use the tool. And to me, that gives you a better idea of how they'll use the tools when you get them in there. And so that's the thing. And like you said, with the it's not fair that you have ATS that can filter out people on a whim. You're throwing out quality candidates because of this AI that you're using. Have you optimized it? Is it doing what it should do? Or are you missing out on great candidates because your tool is not an accurate, I guess, descriptor or use of it when people are having to apply to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs just to get one callback, just to get one interview. People these days don't have the capacity to customize each resume, customize each cover letter for every single role that they use. A lot of
Right.
people have a standard resume and they may go in and tweak here and there, but they can't go in and completely, because I've seen some people say you have to take what's in the job description and put that exact wording in your job description to get past ATS. But once you get past ATS and it's in front of a human, it's like, hey, this person just copied what they had in the job description in their resume. How do we know what they can actually do? So it's
Right.
like, damned if you do, damned if you don't, because it's like, which hand can I go in?
And then what is ATS for those who are not familiar?
I think the A may be automatic, but I'm not sure. Tracking system, I think is the other. So a lot of times, like when and it's not just the content.
Applicant tracking system.
Applicant tracking system. And it's not just about the text of your resume, it's the formatting. Some people, you have the pipe. Some, you have the bullet points or you have the asterisks. It's certain things that the tracker can't read and it'll automatically kick your resume out. Not because you weren't qualified or you're good. Your
Because of
resume
formatting.
just isn't formatted correctly. So to me, it's those types of things where it's the tool, is it being used to benefit the company and is it being used to benefit the applicant? But at the same time, you're punishing people for using these tools to try and help them. It's just like,
Yeah, it's the hypocrisy for me.
yep,
It's like you can't tell the kids not to use AI and then turn right back around and use AI on the kids.
right.
It's like
Or
if the
use AI on the submissions of the kids and then say, oh, this is AI. When, it's like, hey, you said I couldn't use it and I actually wrote it, but maybe I'm just that good that it sounds like AI. So it's really just
right. And then the same thing
all
back in the
things.
story with Apple. It's like, all right, Apple, y'all done change y'all rules around
Hmm.
to limit the amount of submissions that people are using because they've, you know, well, we'll just, give them the benefit of the doubt. These researchers who are probably used to submitting these bug bounties all the time
Hmm.
are like, why would I manually do this when I can let AI help me format, figure out whatever requirements, whatever Apple needs to
Hmm.
submit a successful bug that Apple can then review and then action based on urgency. Why wouldn't they use that? And then for you to stop them or limit their ability to use it, but then turn right back around and use it to filter out all the different bugs and submissions that everybody get. It's like, come on, man.
And limit what I can submit. If I'm making the effort to go in, even if I find 50, that's still effort on my part. There's still work on my part to get to this process. Like you said, it's the hypocrisy for me because you can't blame these researchers for using AI and then turn around and use AI yourself.
Now, I'm pretty sure there are some people that's going crazy with it. Same way with the
Yeah.
kids
With
in school,
anything.
they
Yeah.
using AI to do the whole damn
They
thing.
abuse it.
The applicants who are submitting for 500 jobs, they ain't doing that on their own. So there
Right.
are abusers. And same thing with the researchers. I'm pretty sure these researchers are like, oh, I'm about to use AI. I'm about to get me some money, right?
Bet.
And
This is my
submit like,
full-time job now.
right. And I ain't got to work that hard because AI is helping me, right? So you
Right.
submitting slop, and I get it. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, don't be a hypocrite. If you're going to let them do it, say, look, here are some
Here's some
guidelines
guidelines.
for using AI when submitting
Yep.
bug bounty. You can do
Yeah.
it for this. You can help it. You can use it to help you put together requirements. You can help it to use to whatever requirements that Apple needs in order to successfully submit one,
Yeah.
but don't use it to actually find the bug. You
Right.
use it for everything else, footnotes, proof of concept or case studies or whatever, right? But don't use it to actually find the bugs. And in that way, people can use AI to submit the bugs, and Apple can use AI to filter out the urgency or which ones are low level, which ones are a higher or descendant threat level. I get it.
Yeah.
But just come on, man. Don't don't tie my hands behind your back and then you punching me in the face. Let me
Right.
get my hands out from behind my back too so I can fight back.
Right. And the other thing is, as a tangent, I know early on when I started using Claude, I asked it, I was like, what do you consider yourself? Do you consider yourself a chatbot? What are you? And it came back and said thinking partner. And that's the thing. And I know I've said this before, I know we said this before on the show. When people use things the way they're supposed to, it usually is a good thing, but it's when you
Right.
come in and abuse it. If the system thinks of itself as a thinking partner, say if you are a student and you're, writing a paper, say you write the paper or you write the intro and you pop it into Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever it is, and say, hey, make this more polished. Your thoughts, your ideas are there. You're using the tool to refine it and make it better. Again, it's a collaboration, it's an iteration, it's a back and forth. But if the teacher gives the student a prompt, write a paper about A, B, C, and D, and you just say, I need to write a paper at A, B, C, and D, and whatever the AI spits back, you just copy it, paste it, save it into a Word doc, and submit it. That is a problem. That is definitely
Yeah.
an issue.
And,
But
and
if
I'm
it's
and I was gonna say most people, I would assume most kids in your example, probably using AI for things like they've got their notes all strawn out everywhere for the research they done. Hey, help me organize my notes so I can then write this paper, right?
Yeah.
I've got all these footnotes and all the sites, cite your sources. Help me organize the sources and the links and stuff to add to the footnotes and let
Yeah.
AI help you do that.
Yeah.
You submitting the paper, AI helped you, but it didn't
work.
do the work for you. It helped you organize, it helped you format, it helped you, spell check, and then that's it, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that they're even doing that, they're getting flagged for using AI.
Yeah.
But you using AI to detect whether or not I'm using AI. It's like, come on, man. What are
It's
we
like,
doing here?
come on. Right. Right. It's crazy.
All right, so that is going to nope. I got another one. The last one I got is Apple is selling refurbished MacBook Neos with 100% discount. So these are the Neos that came out earlier this year. They were already $600 to start with, and now it looks like Apple has some Neos available on their refurbished store. The base model at 256 gigs is $599, down from $699, and the 512 version with Touch ID is $679, down from $799. Both come with a 1-year warranty and the option to add Apple Care. The Neo runs on a iPhone-ish A18 Pro chip. And everybody loves the Neo. So I just wanted to put that out there to where, especially now, kids are back to school. My kids are already been in school for the past couple days. My oldest daughter is ramping up to get ready to enter in college in the next 2 weeks. So, I can imagine there are a lot of parents, in addition to getting backpacks and getting, paying for their foundation at the school and buying move-in items. You probably need to look into getting a laptop. Everybody loves the MacBook Neo, so now's a good time to get, so a little change off if you're okay with refurbished. And I am a fan of refurbished. I have purchased from the Apple's refurbished store before, so I can vouch for it. All right, so that's all I got for the lowdown. We're going to move into second string, and along with Claude Code, along with OpenAI, I think they call it Codex. Is that what they call it? Yeah. Meta is rolling out Muse, as in like a muse.
Amused. I'm
Yeah.
inspired by you.
Yeah. Meta is rolling out Muse Code, its first coding agent aimed squarely at Anthropic's Claude and OpenAI's Codex. It's the latest release from AI chief Alexander Wang, who joined Meta in mid-2025 to lead Meta Superintelligence Lab, which is such a stupid name, After Zuckerberg's AI strategy stumbled, Muse code runs as a terminal agent, install with one command, then hand the full software engineering task, planning changes, writing code, validating results. It pairs with Meta's newest model, Muse Spark 1.2, built specifically for coding. The tool is currently in beta. So my question to you,
Mm-hmm.
as a person who has did some vibe coding using AI to help build a product, I'm pretty sure you've used AI in probably all different kind of ways as well. Do you see yourself cracking open, testing out, seeing how well or how bad this Meta Muse code is, or do you not trust Meta at all based on recent everything they've done since then?
So when I saw this, I was like, I don't know, because obviously I've used Claude Code. We talked about that. I've used Codex. And Codex is pretty good. I didn't have any problems with it. A lot of people prefer Codex to Claude Code. It just depends on which model you're using. Um, my concern with Muse is Meta's overall ethos, because a lot of times when you're using these tools, especially if you allow it to write files for you, that gives them access to write to whatever location you specify. Typically, that's your
Server,
right back.
computer, laptop. Yeah.
Right. And typically, if you're building something locally, you're running, in my instance, it was an iOS app. So it was building files directly to Swift through my agent. Again, this is a terminal agent that
And what does
they
that mean?
run. So terminal is basically the back end of your computer. Back in the
Okay.
day,
Sure.
we didn't have an interface so you
Right.
can just point and click and do all those things. You had to type
Right.
commands to do
Right.
everything. And
Right.
essentially, that's what Muse is.
Okay.
Claude Code has a terminal agent
Connector.
as well.
Okay.
I've used that before. I prefer to use it, as we talked about before, in an IDE. That's the integrative, development environment. And so that's just a tool where everything is kind of all in one, and it's a little more point and click. You still have to type, and you still have to do some terminal commands within. You can do terminal commands within the IDE, but it's not solely the only way you function.
Now, can
So
you use real quick? Can you
mhm.
use or can you create an IDE using Claude Code and OpenAI's Codex? Like
so
build the yeah.
they have plugins. So
Okay.
I prefer VS Code. That is a Microsoft product, and a lot of times these companies have they have plugins. And it's not just development. I mean, it's some, if you want to turn, because a lot of times you have to write in Markdown, and that's just basically a textual version of writing out things. Normally, if you're think of it, if you want to bold something in Word, you have to highlight it and click the B button to make it bold. In Markdown, you have to use characters, so you have to use like a two, asterisks. That changes your heading, that makes it bold, that makes it underline. But I mention all that to say is, it's when you're working within a plugin, people, different individual, I could write a plugin if I wanted to and submit it, and it would be available for people to use. But Claude has a plugin, Codex has a plugin, but you could also, again, use them in the terminal as well if you didn't want to use some other system. And it sounds like this is the only way, terminal is the only way you can use Muse. And again, you're writing out the command to tell it what to do. And again, where all this kind of came from is, you have to give these tools access to your machine to write files, to read files if you want. And for me, I have a higher confidence in Claude, and honestly, I have a higher confidence in OpenAI, even though when I use Codex, I don't just give it blanket approval. I was like, I have to approve every single thing. If you want to write something, I have to say, I usually say specifically just for this task. I don't give it a blanket, just whenever I use it, write this. But for Muse, I personally would just be nervous giving Meta the capability to read and write to my machine, because to me they've proven that they can't be trustworthy, and I can't trust that. If they say they're only accessing, if I say you can only access this Muse coding folder, and I put everything in there and you can't look anywhere else. If I want something, if I want you to pick up something, I'll put it in that
I
Muse
put it in
folder
there and
and
let
I'll
you look
tell you
for
where
it.
to go get it. Right. I, I can't trust that that's what they'll do based on their past behavior. I can't trust that they won't just stick to where I say they can go.
So let
They
me
may
ask you
do
this.
that, but I don't know if I can't trust it.
Well, let me ask you this then. Since Muse is terminal based, who who is this for, right? Is this for somebody like me who doesn't know how to code, but knows their way around, tech savvy enough to learn their way around terminal in order to do this, or is this geared towards those nerds, for lack of a better term, who live inside the terminal already and are already savvy enough to pretty much run their whole computer with just like prompts, right?
Yeah, and
Since we're
commands.
already talking about AI and we're already talking about prompts, since you already can do a whole bunch of terminal commands, Mac, PC, whatever.
Mhm.
Is that who the target audience is, or is it for anybody who wants an alternative to OpenAI or Claude?
I think it's it depends on your interpretation. I think it's open to anybody who wants an alternative, but a lot of times if you aren't a proficient tech person, I'm not saying you have to be a software engineer, but if you are a techie, maybe say you're self-taught and you just do it kind of for fun, it a lot of times using terminal intimidates people unless you are already fluent and comfortable in it, because those Linux commands aren't let's say straightforward in what they do, and the syntax that you have to know how to use. So if you want to copy a file, you have to know what
Where's it
the where
going and
you
where's
have
the
to know the syntax,
location
right?
and
And you have to use the right command, and then you have to use the right order of sequence. So you have to use CP, and then you have to type the file. If it depends if it's a single file, if it's a folder, like what are you trying to move, and then you got to know where to put it. So anybody looking at it who isn't familiar, like, this just looks like a bunch of letters all put together that don't make no sense. And so a lot of times, to people who aren't familiar with terminal commands, with using backend systems, it could be intimidating and turn people off. So that's why I say I think it's more for people who are used to using these types of systems and tools, because your standard person isn't going to know.
right.
And again, you're talking about creating things, writing to your system, retrieving things from your hard drive. And again, it's intimidating to people. And people are like, I don't know what that is. I'm not using that. I wanted something that's pretty and all put together. I kind of click and drag and drop and type a little bit, but not too much. So I think this is more for um, people who are proficient. Not to say that they won't come up with a plugin to go into any of these other IDEs eventually. Um, but for now, it seems like they are localizing who they expect to use this, at least for the initial release. I don't know. I may go take a look at it, but I don't think that I'll likely install it and use it. I like to be aware of what's going on with the girls. but may not necessarily want to use it myself. And I, again, as I said, past behavior has predicted, has set a precedent for me with Meta in some things. And I don't know if I trust it.
All right. All right. Well, we shall see if they make waves or crash and burn like everything else Meta has put out since Facebook, the app. All right. Let's move into for the culture. And speaking of AI, the OpenAI invited a lot of black creators to a retreat to where they kind of gave them the ins and outs of, how OpenAI works, how to use their products, or just to let a retreat for some of their, we'll call them influencers, right? But you know, the news wasn't all good for y'all. Some people had some issues
Mhm.
as it relates to AI and how AI is used to further keep or restrict or pro- prohibit, black folks, specifically in this case, black creators, from, having the same sort of success other people have, right? So
Mhm.
a group of black creators and influencers, including Blavity founder and CEO Morgan DeBon, yeah,
Mhm.
are facing online backlash after attending an OpenAI quote unquote creative techies retreat at a luxury wellness resort in New York's Hudson Valley. The optics stung for a specific reason. DeBon had just spoken on AI equity at the NAACP convention in Chicago weeks earlier. Critics online argue OpenAI deliberately courted the demographic AI tools disproportionately harm black women and creators dealing with the non-consensual deepfakes and image misuse, and that they are showing up that are showing up lends to the brand credibility it hasn't earned. Supporters push back, saying that the staying in the room is how black creatives get a say in how this tech gets built, rather than finding out after the fact. So, as a avid user, as somebody who is utilizing, AI tools, for things like vibe coding, building apps that I'm not gonna say you specifically, but would be it more of a challenge. How do you what is your stance on OpenAI courting black creators when some of the same tools that OpenAI is using, people are claiming aren't doing black folks the same sort of service as some of our counterparts?
Right. So OpenAI is a lightning rod anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They always usually kind of court controversy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the thing with this is we're used to seeing influencers go on like influencer trips,
Sure.
but typically, it's in the beauty or the uh uh it's in your more
Content creation
content
and
creation, it's in your more
streamers and yeah.
artistic,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really see this on the tech side of things, even though
Mm-hmm.
there are tech influencers.
Mm-hmm.
um I think that visual was kind of shocking because I was like, that seems kind of ick, that seems kind of weird. But when you look at it in the totality of the way companies use influencers, it's kind of in line with it.
Sure.
And again, because I think OpenAI is likely the first type of, I won't say the first tech company who's done this, but I think doing it with what they call them, creative techies, I
Mm-hmm.
think that is probably the biggest thing because let's be honest, tech in general disenfranchises black people.
Mm-hmm.
Black people are usually the last to get in. Black people are the
Sure.
last to get access.
Sure.
So it's not just open AI. That's the problem with the disparities between black folks and technology or
Mm-hmm.
black folks and other demographics. To me, that's not the problem. And
Mm-hmm.
I always advocate for black people being in these spaces, particularly in AI, because you need a different perspective to be able to build these things.
Mm-hmm.
So my only thing is with this is what are they going to do with this? Are you
Right.
just inviting them to
Right.
just like get content to say, hey, we know some black people.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
we let them in. We aren't discriminating. We aren't against it. And I think the thing for Morgan DeBon is she it says Blavity founder, which she is, but Blavity also hosts Afrotech, one of the
Mm-hmm.
biggest black tech conferences
Mm-hmm.
in the country, probably in the world, honestly. So my thing is they have this Afrotech every, I think, November.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is she going in there to is
Advocate.
yeah, is OpenAI going to be at Afrotech? And not
Mm-hmm.
only are they going to be there, are they going to be hiring black people? Because a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
go to these tech conferences to meet recruiters, to meet
Sure.
companies. The career fair is probably one of the biggest things that people go for. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I need a job. The people who have jobs are going to be there. So my thing
Mm-hmm.
is, are you going there for vanity and for prestige and access? Or are you going there to advocate, to bring a visibility, to bring awareness? Is this going to turn into something tangible to
Mm-hmm.
help Black people, to help
Mm-hmm.
underrepresented people? To me, that's the thing. Because if you're just doing this, you, in the general sense, meaning OpenAI, any of the content creators, any of the other sponsors, are you doing this for vanity? Are you doing this because it makes you look good? It makes you look
Mm-hmm.
in the know, in the
You
culture?
connect it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that you know people, that you do things. Or are you there to actually help? Is OpenAI saying, look, we have all these black techies, let's hire them, let's create programs and systems
Mm-hmm.
to bring people, not only these influencers, because a lot of time, you know, not everybody likes to be out loud and in front. Some people like to build quietly. Not
Mm-hmm.
everybody is has 10, 15, 100,000 100,000 followers. There are some people who have low followers but are just as competent, engaging, and all these things. So are they now realizing, yes, there is a market for these people, and we're going to actively, we're going to go to Nesby, we are going to go to Render, we are going to go to Afrotech, we are going to go to these HBCUs to recruit kids to come and work for these countries? To me, that is the marker of what this is for. Again, if it's just for vanity's sake, then I mean, I guess go off. But to me, the larger thing is, what tangibly are you going to do to welcome and honestly be open to hiring Black people? I know as a Black person in tech, I have been interviewed harder than I know my peers have been, because it's like, oh, we got to make extra sure because, you know, she's brown, you know, she really know, and she's a woman, so I don't know, do you know? So to me is, what is the purpose of this, and what is going to be the tangible outcomes of it?
I don't know if I care either way. The reason why I say that is because I know some of our counterparts
Mm-hmm.
are being courted in a similar fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of them are just doing it for vanity,
Mm-hmm.
are just doing it to, say, the OpenAI invited me here to
Doing it
do
for the
this.
gram.
Right, right. Which is par for the course in social media. You want to be seen as a influencer, you want to be seen as influential. And the best way to do that is to have a big brand court you one way or another. So
Mm-hmm.
the fact that Asian, white, Indian people in the space are getting courted this way, you want to make sure Black folks get courted this way too, and other
Yeah.
people of color, right? The only challenge is like the story mentioned, we know that AI disproportionately affects us more
Mm-hmm.
so than anybody else, right?
Right.
Case in point, where are these data centers being put? They're being put in Black neighborhoods, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my concern is really not with the people who are invited. My concern is with OpenAI. It's like, are you trying to use these people to make yourself be more friendly for you to then turn around and be more accepted into these neighborhoods where you want to put these data centers, for
Greasing the
example, right?
wheel, so to speak.
Right, right, right. Are you really trying to help? Are you really trying to make sure that black folks, make sure that these black techies, make sure that these people that look like us really have a seat at the table? Or is this like I'm doing a favor for you? So when AI gets caught up in some controversy, Morgan DeBon and all these other people, don't be talking crazy because we invited you to the thing 3 months ago. Keep your mouth closed.
You're our avatar.
Right.
Remember?
We need you to speak up. You know what I'm saying? That'd be my only concern. It's like, is OpenAI really like, all right, we know we need to get more people of all different shapes, fashions, colors, creeds, experiences, backgrounds involved in
side.
AI because that's going to be good for AI in general? Or are you like, yo, we need y'all to give us a break when we stand up?
Be our defenders when they come for us.
Yeah, that'd be my concern. Now, if y'all, if OpenAI or Anthropic or Meta or Apple or whoever invite you out to show you their wares as it relates to AI and show you a good time, take it. But just know, if that phone call comes, don't be then all, hey, we gonna look at you like, nah, but
we paid you in this, that, and the third. We got you clicks, we got you followers. You got to pay up. You got to pay up.
Yeah, so that'd be my only concern. So. All right, that's going to do it for the culture. We're going to move into the hookup, and I want to tell you how to turn not any app icon into a widget, but in iOS 26, there is a way specifically with the Apple native apps to where you can quickly turn that app icon into an actual widget. And basically what you do is on the app, you press and hold, like go to reminders, calendar, mail, tap and hold the home screen icon and it'll pull up a sub menu. And at the very bottom, it'll show you the different sizes. You click any one of those and then immediately it expands, gets taller, turns it into a widget. That's a little bit faster than you tapping the home screen and then clicking edit widget up at the top and then going down and finding the widget, and then trying to reshape it that way after you delete it off the screen. Instead of going through all that, you just tap and hold the app directly. At the bottom, it'll give you the different sizes. You can click any one of those and it will turn it into a widget. Again, you're going to have the most success using Apple's native apps, but I'm pretty sure there are a lot of different apps out there that are tightly connected. You think a lot of to-do lists, a lot of note apps. You think of probably Google Maps. You think of any type of apps that give you some sort of live update, a countdown, any sort of peek into any sort of information that may be hiding behind the app. Most of those can do it, but just keep in mind, it's not going to work from every app. But if you want to get started and try this, start with the Apple native apps and then see what other apps can do this as well. So that is it for the hookup. And Nica, if you don't have anything else, that'll do it for this week's show. Tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Tech Savvy Diva everywhere.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH. To connect, comment, and share with the show, please go to our website. That's snoboscast.com to get all of those details. And until next week, we're out. Peace.
Bye, everybody.